And welcome everyone to the August 2023 Cataloging Interest Group meeting. Thank you all for being here today. And as I was saying before we get started, I know that we have rescheduled quite a few times. And so I certainly thank you for your patience and your willingness to be here, even though this is, I think, our third time. I said I didn't want to cancel this and I did not. So thank you all so much for being here. And to those of you that were joining a little late, I was going to put the link to the agenda back in the chat box, even though it went out in email this morning. But it did just go out this morning. So there's the link to the agenda if you do not have it. You can follow along. As always, our agenda magically turns into our notes, so we'll be taking notes as we go along. I missed my introduction here. I should start over. Hello, I am Jennifer Weston, facilitator of this fine group, and on behalf of the organizing committee members, whose names are listed at the top of the agenda, we welcome you. Anybody here for the first time? And I'm watching chat. I'm familiar with most of your names. Anybody is here for the first time, we welcome you heartily. Know that this recording will go up on the wiki and our notes will go up on the wiki as well. Usually takes a day or two, 24 to 48 hours. And then our notes are posted. So today we don't have a formal program in that we don't have a presentation. We do have a lot to talk about. So if there's anything you want to add to the list of things to talk about, please just drop me a note in chat. I said a little earlier as we were all gathering, our group is still, I think, small enough to if anybody just wants to turn on their microphone to ask a question, that's certainly fine. If we get any background noise, I can mute you on my side, but I will be monitoring chat as we go. So today we happen to be meeting on the first day of bug squashing week. So we're going to talk a little about bug squashing. We're going to talk a little about 311. We're not going to go through everything in 311, but some of the fun stuff for catalogers. And then we've all, as always, have a lot of things we can review just in general Launchpad. Yeah, squishy, squishy. Yes, it's bug squishy week. So let's go through, excuse me, some of our exciting things we have going on. And then see if there's anything in particular you want to pause as we go along. Please let me know. So top of the list is always our wiki. It's pretty much looks the same as it did last time we were together. So I haven't made a lot of adjustments there. There are links to the Authorities Working Group and the BibFrame Study Group. They both live there now under related content on our wiki, and those will continue to be updated. I don't know if there have been updates since the last time, though we do have a few announcements as we continue for those. And as I say, it's always a work in progress. Anybody interested in helping me update the wiki, please let me know. Since the last time we met in June, there were new releases in July. So we saw 311.1, 310.3, and 394. Even though those are in red, I promise you those are links. If you want to click on them, it will take you to the release notes. And then nothing new in 3.8 or 3.7. Those are just maintenance at this point. Tabular release notes, I will confess I have not updated to 3.11. I will do that, and I will let you know when that's done. I've stopped promising things this month. I can say end of the month. That's about the best I can do this month. That's also a promise. So I will get them updated by the end of the month. That means everything's good through 310. It just hasn't had the cool 311 stuff there yet. Also, and I've got notes further down on our agenda to talk about 311.1. Latest releases on Wiki. That, of course, is a reminder. If you want to know what the latest releases are, you can always go to the Evergreen website, and it's there on the downloads page, or you can go to the Cataloging Wiki, and we have just a reminder of what the most recent release is, and you can link to the release notes from our wiki at any time without having to come back and find our notes. And then, of course, other links that are very obvious what they are: documentation, community demo servers. Today, we even have more access to community servers because of Bug Squashing Week. The development roadmap that's there is a recap really for 311. At this point, developers are starting to come together to talk about 312. As they do that, and release managers are named, and a release manager is just simply a project manager that, and it's usually more than one, that will oversee getting all of the new features identified that are going to go in 312, talk about what it's going to take to get them committed, and go through the process of having them vetted and tested and all the stuff that has to lead up to a new release. So when a new release manager is named, then we'll see a new roadmap for 312. What you see there now is the recap of what went into making 311 happen. Which brings us to celebrations, my favorite part of any meeting. It's Bug Squashing Week, hooray! Which means we get to see some of these new features in action. I'll talk more about that in a moment. 311, I've already said, was released in July. Just our note there to thank the release team, Michelle Morgan, Jason Boyer, and Blake Graham Henderson. Michelle? Nope. Christine, you're here Thursday. So if you know any of those fine folks or you talk to them today or this week, please say thank you. And there are additional acknowledgments at the end of the release notes for the individual organizations and all the individuals that helped with the new features that are in 3.11. And it takes a village, and it certainly did for 3.11. I pulled out of the release notes just some of the notable enhancements and new features there. I'm not going to go through each one of these. Perhaps we'll do that another time. I know that Andrea Buntsheim, my colleague, and then Ruth Frazier from Evergreen, Indiana, did a lovely presentation at the Evergreen conference on the new features, which I will link to on the wiki. And in fact, I'll add it to the notes here if you want to see a little more about these. And then we've got a couple of these that I wanted to talk about as we move a little further that are just for, that'll be of special interest to catalogers. Anybody on 3.11 yet? As I pause, I mean, that's probably the next thing we're going to talk about, who's upgrading, who has. Anybody here on 3.11? Okay. So like I said, we'll go through some of these, just a couple of these a little later, but I did want to summarize. Mary, you're testing it. Great. Let's make a note there. So Mary, you upgraded to 3.9.1 in April. So you're skipping 3.10? Is that correct? Okay, so you're testing 3.11 now. Anybody else have an update on their upgrades? I'm just showing you the list here that we've gotten from the last few meetings that we have. We try to keep track of where you all are just so we can share with us your findings, your challenges, your questions, your celebrations as you move from one version to another. I'm not sure if News has gotten this upgrade yet. I don't think you have, Carolyn. I think it's coming in the fall. Ava, you're testing. You hope to upgrade in July. Yeah, we saw the problems with the localization, Ava. And it looks like Blake's going to try to have a server for bug squashing this week if he can get that to work. They'll have the localizations in there. Fingers crossed for you. Yeah, Mary says they generally skip from 3.6 to 3.9. That was a big, big jump. Kenton, you're now on 3.9.4. Okay, let's make a note there. As of August. I keep wanting to say October. Does anybody else do that? I keep wanting to say October this month, and that is just not good at all. Okay, so you hope to move to 3.11 this winter. Keeping track of all of you here. Yes, I wish it was October. For some reasons, I wish it was. Okay, and Mary, you're on 3.9.4. As of, make sure I capture this, as of August. I was going to do it again. Link is upgrading to 3.9.4 security updates only. Thanks, Joanne. Let's see. You're up. Let's do this. Upgrading to 3.9.4 security updates. Okay, so let's see. We think Pels is upgrading to 3.11 in the fall. Cardinal, I think you all are upgrading to 3.11 in the fall. I did not misspeak there earlier. Yeah, please, anybody that wants to make their own notes, go for it. Everybody should have access to edit this document, including I love seeing all of your anonymous characters on there now. The anonymous hamster is in the middle of updating CW Mars. Mackenzie, this month should be October. Yes. And frankly, whoever's responsible for the change should be. Yes. I agree. You can see why I'm stuck on October. I think if we vote enough, we can just make it October. At least on the notes. Let's see. We'll share we'll see who reads the chat notes and responds to them. That they weren't here today, so we can share this particular historical humor. Okay. Let's see. Have we captured everybody? We got Missouri Evergreen. You upgraded to 3.9.1 earlier this year, so you'll skip and go to 3.11 next. Bibliamations on 3.11 now. CW Mars is still discussing which version. That's fair. Okay. A lot going on there. Okay. Very, very nice. I think sometime, maybe in October, we can catch up on just kind of how 311 is going for those of you that are testing it and that have had an opportunity to see it at least. So we can see that. Did I capture that? You're testing 311 now on a test server. Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry, I'm pausing and reading at the same time. I'm usually a little better at that than I am. Apparently not doing so well today. So you're on a test server. Okay, so I think I've captured everything now. And let's look at October, coming back together and seeing how 311 is going, just to share what we've learned and what your experience has been. And then August, September, and then in a couple of months. Okay. Congratulations to everybody working on upgrades, planning for them. Let's just move right along. So Catalogers Connect, very exciting news. We have a new combined community calendar, and there are quite a few people here that are involved in quite a few interest groups. So we're all celebrating today that we have a combined community calendar, which will be officially rolled out next month, but I couldn't wait because I wanted to share this. Now, for those of you that are used to looking at the community calendar, probably doesn't look that much different. But for those of us that are involved in updating them, it's now actually one calendar. We're not all having to do our own little thing or send nice little notes to somebody else and asking them to update our calendars for us. We are actually all on one calendar. So you can subscribe to this now if you want. It's out there and available. It will be published officially by the outreach group, not to steal their thunder. It will be published by the outreach group and then will be posted on the Evergreen website to replace the current one that's there. I'm just showing this now just because I'm so very excited about it. And you can see Bug Squashing Week is there as well. So all our dates are on here. And if we needed to reschedule at another point in the future, then I can very easily just update this calendar too. So I know, woohoo! Debbie's excited too. I tell you, having to maintain all these different calendars has been, I won't say challenging. I mean, we did it, but it's really nice to have everybody together on one calendar now. So you can subscribe to this one, make it your own, and enjoy it. Doesn't mean I'm going to take away the Catalogers Connect on our agenda. I mean, I'll still list what's coming up next because we also linked all the interest group wikis and that sort of thing. But we do have a very exciting new calendar. Woo-hoo. And without going through all the groups that are here, I do have all the next meetings listed with the exception of the BibFrame study group, which has not yet been determined. We had a meeting, the first meeting, and then from there, we are just waiting to come back together. I did put a link a little bit further down here if you're interested in the BibFrame study group. If you'll just subscribe there, and then Galen is coordinating that. It's not intended to be an ongoing thing, as in it will not be an interest group that goes on for years and years. It's just intended to be a limited series type of meeting, a group that comes together to kind of study what's going on with BibFrame. If you are interested in that, don't feel like you are behind it all. We've had one meeting and the notes are available. So if you want to subscribe to the BibFrame group, here's your opportunity. And then going back up, I think I've got all the dates there. I think that's the only thing that's a little unusual. I'll talk about the authorities working group here in a minute, and Mackenzie will fill in anything I miss. Doing bug squashing now. I do want to say how excited I am that we've got two new interest groups that are continuing to meet on a regular basis. The permissions interest group, which actually meets later this week, and the user interface interest group. And I don't think Stephanie's with us today, but they're both doing some really exciting things. So you can watch the calendar, watch the Evergreen, just the general listserv for announcements there. We have links, of course, to their individual wiki pages too, if you want to sign up. Any announcements about any of the other interest groups other than the authority working group? I know I've got some updates there, but any of the others want to say anything about activity that you have going on? You want to add to our notes for anybody that couldn't join us today? Okay. Well, watch for announcements and any opportunity you have to sit in on these meetings. I encourage you to do so. We'll look at doing some crossover work with other interest groups later in the fall. We've had a lot of success in that in the past, and we'll continue doing that. The authorities working group. I had intended to get this out in an email before, but now you get to hear the announcements before it goes out in an email. The authorities working group is functioning as a working group this summer. We're meeting every 2 weeks, and we're actually working on projects during our meeting time. We meet for 1 hour. Our next meeting is August 29th. And I want to pause for just a moment. Mackenzie asked a question about would joining the BibFrame group mailing list be the best way to share details with them, even if you don't necessarily want to be part of the group? Yes, absolutely. If you just want to receive updates on what's going on with the BibFrame group, if you want to share information about resources you might be familiar with, or resources you might be looking for, even if you don't want to be part of the study group? Great question. Yeah, certainly signing up for the mailing list doesn't mean you have to join the meetings to be part of any kind of working group and receive an assignment of any sort. So back to the authorities working group. We are doing working sessions, which means that we need your questions. We spent a lot of time putting together questions for the last 2 years. We did the Authority Hack Fest, gosh, almost 2 years ago now. We're looking at maybe doing another one this fall. But for now, we're taking all the questions we have, and we have tons of questions, but we're categorizing them and we're putting together official answers in as much as we can, so that we can then publish these back. But what we need are your questions. So if you work with authorities or just have a curiosity about authorities at all, or you just want to complain a little bit about authorities, that's perfectly fine too. To say it doesn't do what I want it to do, or can you tell me what it should be doing? Please send those to us. And again, I will send this email out to the listserv on behalf of the authorities working group, because there are more than a dozen of us now that have met and come together for this particular purpose. So when this goes out, if you'll just send us the question, it doesn't matter what format, just send them to the cataloging listserv. When I send out the email, if you'd rather send it to a particular group of people, we can do that. But if you're comfortable sending them to the listserv, please do. If you have anything, if you are working with authorities and you are seeing something that you have questions about, if you can do screenshots, that would be great. And if you aren't and you just have general questions, that's fine too. So our next working sessions, when we start reviewing those questions and start answering them, our next one is, right, Tricia, there you go. Hi, Tricia. Do you want to speak to this? You might do a much better job than what I'm doing right now. Tricia's from Niagara Falls, and she's helping lead this effort. Now I'm putting you on the spot. Okay, thanks. Tricia says we're doing great. So our next meeting is on, let me pause for a moment and say why I was trying to pivot to Tricia. Tricia and Maggie from Niagara Falls have just gone through implementing authorities. And if you missed part of our update at the conference, which is also recorded that we can share, is they've got a lot that they've learned through this implementation process and a lot of questions they're bringing to the table to say we've still got a lot that we need to kind of document how it works and some opportunities we have for continuing to learn more about how they work and kind of some workarounds. Yeah. So thank you, Tricia, and to Maggie and Absentia that for bringing this to us and leading us through these working sessions. So our next one is coming up at the end of the month on August 29th, and then we'll meet again less than 2 weeks later on Friday the 8th. If anybody's interested in coming to these will be working sessions where we're looking at questions and we're finding answers and we're agreeing upon answers. We're starting to categorize these so that we can do these. We're catalogers, of course we are, so that we can do these in a very organized manner. We're going to put them in categories and address them in categories, but you don't have to do that. Just send us questions. As Tricia says, we're really starting from the very, very basics for documentation. So what we're really looking for is everything. It doesn't have to be a very specific kind of question. It can be, where do I find authorities in the database? We're going to start at navigation. We're going to start with glossary. Those are the two things we're going to start with at the end of the month, and then we'll grow from there. Yes, and Mackenzie has, I was going to say, removed the veil on what the difference between a subject and a topic is. He's demystified such a thing. Yeah, Maggie's with us too. And I think Maggie's the one that coined the phrase that we want to demystify authorities. So that's this project, to demystify such. So again, send us your questions, please, so that we are answering questions that are meant for everyone. We tend to get too close to it sometimes and we miss the basics. So please let us know if you have any questions at all. And I'm going to move on from authorities, but I'll watch the chat as it continues there. I've already mentioned BidFrame. This is turning into very much a business meeting here, isn't it? Okay, Launchpad, I'm going to skip for a moment because, well, we're going to touch on it in several different ways. I want to come back to the staff blocker, though. Don't let me in the meeting and forget to do that. Anything else announcement-wise? Because I'm getting ready to move into just talk about highlights from 3.11 and then talk about bug squashing for a little bit, and then a couple of Launchpad bugs. Anything else you want to add to this list, please let me know. I'm watching you. I don't see anything. Okay, so let's talk quickly about highlights from 3.11. Like I said, we do have a full-length presentation I will send you. We'll provide more information on this. Quite a bit of it's about acquisitions, and I celebrate that. But we're not going to talk about acquisitions today. One of the things we've talked about several times in this group is this idea of queued ingest for batch operations, oddly enough, also relates to authorities. So I pulled out the actual definition, the description of this from the release notes. It's the separation of bib and authority record updates and the search and other indexing that occurs. So to read that sentence, it's the separation of bib and authority record updates and the indexing that occurs when a record's modified in some way. And so what does that mean from us? And please, if I don't get this quite right, and there's somebody else out there that understands this better than I do, please call me on it. Here is my high-level understanding of that. It essentially means that system performance improvements get better for batch updates. This is not an individual, you change one record and you'll see a significant difference there. But it's instead those things that are involved in batch updates behind the scenes. The primary offender of this, if you will, has been this authority control propagation, because in order to update authority control, you change one or two things in an authority record and you want it to kind of go backwards and update your bib records. And that doesn't happen now, which we've learned a couple of years ago. It just doesn't. But this is a way forward from that, is that it's no longer trying to do all of it at once. Instead, it's kind of cute and it'll just update things without just taking a huge amount of time just trying to essentially push this through all at once. So the queued ingest enables you to just do it in a queue. And it doesn't force both things to happen at the same time. So the possibility of authority control propagation, meaning it will update your bib records if you change an authority record, that possibility is very, very close. Now we need to test this, and this is one of the things the authorities working group will take on. But we want to let you know that's there, but it's not limited to just authorities. They gave several other examples in the release notes, things like the reingest after index configuration changes. If you've been working with changing indexing, you know what that means. If you haven't, then you don't, and that's okay. But it's the kind of thing that what gets, when you're searching for a particular type of search, what gets indexed so that it'll bring back those things in your results. So you search for an author, it's looking at a 100 tag, right? Or if you search for an author, it's looking for 100 or 700, that kind of thing. But you can actually change those indexing. And then beyond that, cataloging acquisitions, your record imports. So if you're doing batch imports and overlays, of course. So there's some system performance improvements that we could expect to see there. I also wanted to bring this out because queued ingest is not automatically turned on upgrade. And I think that's important every time we talk about new features to point out whether you should expect to see it right away, or if your system admin person is going to either, very kindly turn this on for you, or if it's a conversation you need to have about when you should expect to see changes. So this is one of those that's not automatically turned on, but there are plenty of implementation notes in the release notes about considerations for implementing it and turning it on. So a little bit more testing, even though it's out there in 3.11. So those of you that are testing 3.11, and if this is something that you can test, and I know that that's not always the case on a test server, then we'll look forward to hearing from you. We'll do the same in the authorities working group on the test server there. So fingers crossed that this is moving us a step closer to authority control propagation. Yay. Or just updates. I know, I'm very excited. Okay. Secondly, this is one that affects all of us. We officially have a staff view coming back in 3.11. I say officially because how many of you already have a staff view that was added? I mean, there are quite a few that have just been patched in there to systems. So this one's officially coming back. The staff view meaning just that. You get to see, in the staff catalog, you can see what your changes look like on the public catalog. And it's actually interactive. It's not just that static view anymore. Because we had that for a while, right? We had that, we had put that back in place for some, I don't even remember what version back, but it was really just a static view. So you tried to click on things. You're like, well, yeah, you still had to go out to the public catalog if you wanted to see how it interacted with, doing your hyperlinks to various searches and all. So it's back. So there you go. There's the Launchpad bug if you want to see everything that led up to the catalog view coming back, but it is there now. And I think it's there now because we kept asking for it to be there now. So yay, catalogers. And thanks to the community for recognizing the need.
Can I just jump in here for a minute
Please,
on
Elizabeth.
this one? Because it is referenced in that bug, I believe.
Mhm.
The CW Mars contracted for that, and that was great. But in Noble, we also wanted to bring the Novelist Select. We have Novelist Select,
Oh,
and we use it all the time, and we wanted to bring that into the catalog.
mhm.
And we contracted with Equinox to do that, and I'll send in the bug
Okay,
um,
that's what I was looking for. Thanks.
number,
Mhm.
and that will be a second tab that appears right after the this staff view tab, and will give people access to all that Novelist Select stuff. It's specific to Novelist Select at the moment, but with the intent that other types of added content could be handled that way as well. So we hope that'll be in 3.11. We're just in the final stages of signing off on that.
Fantastic to have it. So three, yeah, in a future 311 release, in a future 311 point release. Is that fair to say?
It'll probably be in a 3.12 because
Oh,
it's
sorry. Yeah,
but we haven't
new
signed
feature.
off on it yet, so.
Got it. Hope to have it in 312. That's fantastic. Are you testing it now? Or
Yes,
has it been released to you? Okay.
we're very close.
Lovely. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'll say besides staff view. So we'll remember what we're talking about. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's almost like Christmas in October. Did that over. Okay. This is fabulous. Okay. I'm even more excited. But you say, right now it's just for novelists, but it's laying the groundwork for other added content in the future.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I'll add that to notes a little later then. Yeah, if you could find the bug and pop that in there, I'd appreciate it, Elizabeth. Thank you. Nope, and you did. You're too quick for me. Okay. And as I'm moving on, if there are any other bugs anybody wants to highlight, there's never a wrong time to do that. If anybody wants to speak up or drop a note in chat. I was just going to move on to a couple of others that lived in the miscellaneous notes and the release notes. One of them is we now have a publication date in the staff catalog shelf browse, which is just kind of a nice little, quality of life improvement there to be able to see that. And this is not a small thing to us, even though it lives in miscellaneous, is we now have a separate update copy barcode permission for replacing item barcodes. We've talked about this one so many times about how nice it would be to have this very thing so that if you have circ staff that need to update an item barcode, because it got torn off or whatever, that currently if they have the ability to update the barcode, that same staff person then has the ability to update anything on the item because there was no granularity there about being able to make changes to an item. Either you could do one thing, you could do it all, or you could do nothing at all. And this new permission enables you to change your permissions to be able to do just that, to give certain staff only the ability to replace the item barcode and make no other edits to an item. So celebrations all around for this one. There are notes in the release notes about how this is being applied. So it sounds like that permission's not being taken away from anybody by default with the upgrade, so that if you decide that this is something you want to use, you'll have to go in and just change your permissions to then give whichever staff should only have this limited permission. You'll have to go in and actively do that, but the new permission will be available as of 311. Stumbled over that a bit, but I hope I described it enough, because I know this is one that I think this is a step in the right direction too. It's absolutely something to celebrate, but we've talked so much about wanting to be able to control permissions a little tighter and a little more specifically than what we have now for being able to update bib records and item records. So moving along, we are here at Bug Squashing Week, and I'm going to go back in a moment to, I don't want to lose my thought about these blocker bugs we have. We have quite a few things. If anybody here is not familiar with Bug Squashing Week, Tara McKenna puts out this wonderful spreadsheet for us, and she gives us all the information you would need to be able to participate. There are various ways you can participate in bug squashing. I've put the usual link in our notes, and the link that Taryn has sent out to the Evergreen list last week and again this week. But to highlight some of this, usually the focus of bug squashing week is to look at specific bugs that want to be tested before they are then incorporated into a future release. And when she does that, she gives you the title of the bug. Notice how many are cataloging related this time. We have quite a few. And you can see that they're ready to test. If they get signed off on, the status will be updated. So if it says ready to test, then we just do that. Here's your Launchpad link. And to work with this, you will sign into Terran's test server if you want to test any of these. And the login is there. So admin is the username demo123. So those are there if you want to test. All you have to do is go to the bug, see what it's asking you to do. For example, well, there's a keyboard shortcut. That's kind of cool. We got all kinds of really cool shortcut things that are here for accessibility reasons, which are really nice there. Here, focus on item, add, and call number, just where your cursor is going to focus. So if we were to look at that one, for example. And this is one that Josh reported just earlier this month. After you select a template, you want to set the focus on the add item checkbox by default. See, it's little things like this that are quality of life that I just love. So this just cuts out a couple of clicks. So all it really needs is just testing. You'll usually get testing notes, a little direction about how to go about testing it. And so if anybody's interested in testing this one, all you really have to do is log into Terran's test server here and try to walk through those steps of creating an item template and see if it's saving you that time as he described it. And then try to do other things that he didn't expect you to do, because that's what testing's about, right? It'll do what it says it does, but is there any, if you click on other places, can you break it? I guess that's what I'm saying. You can walk through the steps the first time. Yes, it does what it's supposed to do, but then try to do other things he wasn't expecting you to do and see if there's any, kind of gotchas in there to make sure that it works. These are just keystrokes, though. It sounds like a really cool thing to make our lives a little easier. And make sure it works for all libraries, too. So workflows are different in different libraries. So I'm going to stop scrolling there. But we do have some really fun ones this time. Cataloging, they aren't terribly time intensive for testing. And we'll have more coming throughout the week. So obviously, under each one of these, they'll be categorized and color coded, which we appreciate very much. And you'll just sign in to whichever test server you want to use there. Even if you just leave a note on there, if you're not comfortable signing off on a particular bug, that's fine. Just leave a note. Say what say, I've tested it. This is what I've seen. There are notes on if you do want to sign off, and quite a few of you are here that just sign off on things quite routinely. We appreciate that very much. For the veterans, I just want to say thank you one more time. But anybody that's new to that, know that you can contact the cataloging listserv or contact Terran directly if you have questions or concerns about how to participate. And there are all kinds of notes there. Now, beyond what's listed here to be tested, I want to point out that we always have this directive. There are old patches, there are old bugs that need to be checked to see if they're still valid. She's given us a link to those. Lots of old stuff just out there to say, is it still relevant on whatever version you're on? If you're on 3.8 or 3.9 or 3.10, but if this is something that was reported back on 3.0 or something like that, let's see if it's still valid. If not, let's get it out of the system, out of the Launchpad system there. And then bugs with new status that need to be reviewed and confirmed. Now, I'm going to say, while Terran gives you a great link there, I would like to replace that link and go back up to our list here to look just at those that say new plus cataloging. That'll limit the list a bit. New just means nobody's confirmed it yet. I mean, it can be new as in somebody just added it this week. It could be new and have been there a few months. But I have the link there now for new plus cataloging. So if you're looking to participate this week, you have half an hour or so, and you really just want to review this new stuff, and you think, well, this applies to me. And here again, if you just want to add heat, which simply just means this affects me too. So if I go to this one and I say, bib editor errors out when more than when authority control set is defined. All right, need to be able to have an authority set in there. Let's just look at some of these. Internal service error. I was going to look at one that's kind of nice and easy, but doesn't remember the tab. See, that's kind of important. Item status detail view doesn't remember the tab. See how far back this goes, though? 2.12.1. Let's see if this is still truly a thing. And it's got links to other bugs, too. So you can see that this conversation's been going on for ages. But this is the kind of thing that it would be nice just to go through and see if it's still relevant. And if it is, kind of give an update as to what this really means in the newest version that we're looking at, and primarily because so much has happened through the move to Angular, the more modern Angular. There's tons of this stuff out there. If you want to see the more recent ones, of course, you can just look at new, as I did here, and then you can just sort them. Instead of by importance, you can sort them by number. There we go. So here's the most recent one, 20313. So if you sort by number, it'll give you the most recent ones. You just want to go in and confirm them, or you can look at the oldest ones. You get the idea. So
one of the things that I find useful with the old ones and sometimes the new ones, sometimes they're not getting as much attention as they need, or they have sort of fallen, they've just been neglected for a while. Sometimes adding a screenshot or an example of why this is still important or who might use it. Sometimes the bug is written very specifically to say, this doesn't happen when this happens, but putting some more context around it. And perhaps sending it out to the catalogist group for more attention can really help.
Thanks for all of that. Absolutely great advice about sending it out to especially this week when everybody's really paying attention, to send it out to the cataloging listserv.
Well, sometimes people look at one and it's sort of like, who would do that? But if somebody says, here's why you might do that, or here's a situation where you're trying to do that, then it suddenly becomes clear why people want that thing. Even just a fresh example sometimes is helpful.
Yes. It'll say, will be helpful to draw attention. I'll send notes to the cat listserv. And there's nothing wrong with adding a tag on there that says needs discussion if you feel like you want more people to weigh in on workflows to see if this is really something that would apply to more libraries than just yours. There's nothing wrong at all with putting a needs discussion tag on there. I do like all these keyboard things that are coming this week.
It's great to see how much work is being done on accessibility and user interface. It's
absolutely. Or any of you, and I know Stephanie's not here, any of you sitting in on the user interface interest groups where they're talking about working on the language for errors? I think that's fascinating. Yes. I haven't been able to join them, but I've been watching the notes. I can't think of a more perfect way to address accessibility than just looking at the kinds of messages. What you see on the screen is what we're talking about with accessibility, and those error messages are just not friendly.
It's a really positive thing that's happening to look at things that way rather than looking at error messages individually, or the placement or color of this button individually, but to put those in a larger context and make some, actual decisions and standards.
Making decisions and taking action. I love it.
Yeah.
We'll put that under celebrations too. And you can see that just from the release notes, and then see from, every time we get a new set of bugs to test during bug squashing, you can see just how much is really happening behind the scenes. Dev work, and it's a nice, I'm going to stop saying it's a surprise, because it won't be a surprise for very much longer, because we expect this to happen, but we're just genuinely pleased that it is. Okay, before I go back, so we've got about 20 minutes, and I look at these blockers, are there particular bugs any of you want to talk about today? Feel free to drop them in the list there. I wanted to go back to the staff catalog blocker. We've had these same 10 bugs documented for about 6 months now, I guess, that we've been watching. The number's not growing. It's a good thing. But these are the ones that libraries and many of you have looked at and said, you know what, I'm not ready to give up the traditional catalog. Not that there's any I mean, I don't know that a particular deadline has been set for that, but it always feels like it's looming for the traditional catalog going away and just working with the new Angular one. But these 10 things are critical that we be able to have some sort of parity in the Angular catalog so that we don't lose functionality. I'm very pleased to see that even starting at the first one, this staff catalog copy location group, these are shelving location groups, same thing there. So if libraries are using those, then you do not want to lose the ability to filter on them. And this is the conversation that's ongoing. And I want to use this one as an example. This conversation started a little over 3 years ago now. And this was more of a wish list. We were calling that at some point, and at some point it no longer became wish list because it really was a regression bug to be able to filter on these copy location groups. And again, these are the shelving location groups, not shelving locations, but the groups if you're using those, which are kind of nice. You can put all of your various shelving locations that are related to children's material and just call them children's material. That's what a shelving location group is, if you're not familiar with that, if you're not using it. But I'm not going to scroll through. Yeah, go ahead, please.
This one is huge for us. This is definitely a big one for us, along with the third one on that list that is the custom org tree. Most of our libraries are single sites, and it makes no sense to say, do you want Wakefield or do you want WAC when they're the same thing? And we have some other things that shouldn't be appearing there. And so those two together are very important.
So I'm going to use the first and third. That's what you said. Yeah, your custom org. Yes. Label these. That way, just.
And I'm sure that's not critical for people who aren't using shelving location groups, but it's
for those that are using these features. We'll call it a feature. I know it might not be a feature, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So going back to, I wanted to look at just kind of to show that there is conversation around these because they've been there for a long time, but we're getting feedback now from Bill about, this is again, the shelving location groups. And there's been some kind of back and forth there. And thanks to Joan for confirming one more time what we were expecting to see there. It's a lot of back and forth. So I encourage you, if you are using these, don't be shy about making your voices known about how you would like to see this work. Here, there's a solution being offered. And since we have a moment, let me pose this question to the group. Is the solution just to create a combo or copy location group select component displayed everywhere in the staff catalog? And anytime it's not supported, okay. Treat it like a plain org unit filter. I'm not sure I actually understand what a combo org copy location group component is. So you're taking the org unit and the copy location group together. Do you, Elizabeth?
I did, but we just want exactly what we have now in the catalog. That works perfectly for us. So it's the Danvers Library, Danvers Children's, Danvers Teen, Danvers Adult,
right?
All on a single list.
Yeah, and so I think that Kathy Lucier is writing here now too that I think I agree with her. Expecting it to work on all search types when it's reintroduced. I think, like you said, we just want it back the way it used to work. And I know that there's some groans sometimes when we say things like that. We want it to be the way it used to be, but it worked. So there you are. Org unit selector. I don't think there's much disagreement from the cataloger side about what is wanted. I think it's just confirming that in a variety of ways. And saying, here's what I'm seeing. Like, this is a really good example. And Joan says that here, the org unit and the Bootstrap catalog displays on each screen. Be helpful. Yeah. So if we can do the same thing in the staff catalog. And that's, I think, ultimately where we keep coming back to is if a patron can do it, we want to be able to do it on the staff side. Otherwise, supporting it gets tougher and tougher. Supporting it from a cataloging standpoint and actually making the data do what it needs to do. Yeah, so I think we're getting to some consensus here. But if anybody else out there is using these, I think that this would be a good one to weigh in on, because I do think there's some movement here, especially since we're seeing conversation happening just this month. So let's look at your other one too here then, Elizabeth. Anything happening on that one this month? Pardon me while I scroll very quickly to the bottom of the screen. Nope. Nothing much since, well, it's been a year. This would be a good one to come back to, send back to the list, say this one's still out there. And we've got some, it was updated last July. I think it's very clear what it does. Let's see. I don't think there's anything unusual there about what's being asked. But certainly this is one we can ask for heat on. And for anybody here, I don't know if there's anybody here that hasn't put heat on a bug, but in case you haven't, it's simply a matter of, does this bug affect you? Yes, it does. I just added heat. If I, similarly, if I made a comment of any kind, that adds heat as well. But the easiest way to add heat is just say, yes, it affects me if you have a login. If you don't have a login to Launchpad, if there's anybody out there that doesn't have one and you're interested in how to do that, I can point you in the right direction if you just want to email me off list. This is documented in various different places. It's probably just easier to go back and find some of our notes and add them to our wiki, which I will do. But for now, just email me if you're just curious about how you can interact more with Launchpad. I'll be glad to get you all set up. So what else do we have on this list? Let me go back. We've got those two, the catalog cereals menu. This is a big one for cereals, and it sounds like there's not a lot of work that's going to be going on in cereals anytime soon. I know there'd been some hope about that for a little while. It feels like that's probably been deprioritized. I'm saying this just not with any kind of official information. I just haven't seen any more conversation about it. Anybody that needs to leave early, thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you next time. So there's this quick receive. If you work with cereals at all, this is a thing that, this is again a regression bug. Quick receive went away. We've got whole groups. Oh, okay. Can I just say this? Whole groups are fabulous. But my goodness, we really do want to have them available from the Angular staff catalog. From a training point of view, we have to say, here's this really cool thing. Oh, it doesn't work in the Angular staff catalog. So let's see if that one's gotten any attention. Again, pardon me while I scroll. No, we just keep adding in notes that it's still missing. That might be a nice one. And I say this, rather passively, but I'll pull out some of these and send them back to the list to say we reviewed them today. Yeah, I added a note a couple of years ago about whole groups. There are never any promises, but if we don't talk about them, they'll get ignored. Okay, and then we've got a variety of things about catalog facets we looked at about a year or so ago as a group. Several facety things. That's a thing. Yeah, there's Mary missing quick receival. Yeah, absolutely. Keep you from totally using the Angular catalog. So I think what I may do is just take this whole list and just send it back to the listserv and say, these are the 10 we've talked about in the group, and we all agree. Let me not just speak for the group. If anybody does not agree that some of these are blockers, you're welcome to say so now. You're welcome to send a note to the listserv or send a note to me, because I don't want to say that we all agree unanimously without giving you the opportunity to disagree. So if there are any of these we want to look at together, certainly let's do that. But I think we've done this once before, and it's how we narrowed them down to 10, but I want to open that conversation again. So I will just start this and send it out as an email just to the general list to say these are the ones we're looking at, that at least through our conversations there, we feel like these could be, really blocking libraries from adopting 3.11 or anything after 3.11. So here, what else we have? We have content cache can't be cleared. Yep, we know that one. Angular staff catalog, you can't place meta holds. Angular catalog view holds, we need to be able to sort without getting an error. Gosh, this one's really kind of old, isn't it? Let's see. We might need to test this one. John said in 3.7.2 he wasn't seeing an error. But they're not sorting. There's no error. So it's failing silently is what it sounds like when he says, but clicking the headers do not change the sort order. So let's retest that one if we can. when I say we, I will not delay sending this out to the list, but then as time allows, if any of us could go in there and test, I would appreciate it. I will try to by the end of the week, but it's not going to happen until on my side until Thursday or Friday, which might be a little too late for bug squashing, but I'll still do that if on any of these 10. Elizabeth, besides adding heat, marking bugs that affect you makes it easy for you to find or limit these in Launchpad. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which, thank you, Elizabeth, for sending us a nice little, I'll just bring this up so everybody can see it. There you go. All related bugs. Very cool. And
It took me years to realize that. So
yeah, I'm going to see. Oh, I need to go back to just, there we go. There you go. There's me. Bugs. Bugs assigned to me. I was going to show you how you get there. Yeah, Elizabeth, I can't find it online.
it's part of advanced search, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you just go to bugs,
there we go. Bugs affecting me. I can
but
do that.
also if you have searched for a bug there where it says related bugs, though I had searched for locations in the example, but then I see all the ones with locations, but I can click on affecting bugs to see all the ones with locations that I've indicated I care about.
There we are. Bugs reported by me
Yeah.
and bugs affecting me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. It just looks a little different on my. Yeah. So then if I go to, oh, look at that. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So it lives over here after you do the search. Aha. I'll put that in our notes. In case anybody's not listening to us and just reading our notes instead. Very cool. Okay. Well, we're kind of at the end of our time here. I am going to, like I said, I'll send all of these back to the list while we're here. We do have some really nice things to do some testing on, so please do that as you're able to this week. Taryn, of course, will send notes around. I will add notes here about I'm just going to put a placeholder. I'll come back. You don't have to watch me type now, but Launchpad, bugs affecting me, search results. Okay, Maggie, quick question for the group. Go for it.
Hello.
Hi.
So Niagara Falls is on 310, and we're still having issues with the image uploader. So I'm wondering if anyone in this group has 310 and you got your image uploader to work, and if we could just contact you, Trisha and I, and with IT to kind of see if you did a workaround or just like what you did, if we're missing something that we could try to implement it here.
These are cover images?
Yes, cover images, the image uploader for cover images. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be great because we want it so bad.
Lindsay?
Yeah, Westchester, we have managed to get cover images loading. So if you want to reach out to me, I can pop my email in the
that would be
in the
great.
chat.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure problem. Sure thing. No problem.
Thanks.
Fabulous. Anybody else? We got a few more minutes. That was a lovely example of how to get answers on the fly. Anybody else have questions? We can Lindsay can answer quickly. Okay, I guess I do want to say one before we wrap up today. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September the 12th. The organizing committee is meeting later this month. Yes, before the end of the month. And yes, on the same day, the authorities working group. If anybody here is interested in being part of the organizing committee, which does not mean that you have to show up and get an assignment every month. It just means you help put together ideas about programs, about things that we should be talking about, bring together your own experiences as you go through upgrade after upgrade about things that would be helpful to talk about as a group. Again, it's just more of a brainstorming. We meet at most 3 times a year. We used to try to be quarterly. It just, so maybe twice a year, as many as 3. We'll just have a separate call to do our planning, usually somewhere leading up to the conference to make sure that we've got cataloging material there. And then also after that, so about now, leading into the fall, so we can plan for the rest of the year and make sure that we are bringing good programs and good topics to you, and then following up on the things that we are talking about as a group. So if you are interested, please let me know. If you want to volunteer somebody or nominate somebody that you think might be interested, please let me know as well. There are absolutely no kind of qualification that you have to go through other than just have knowledge of cataloging and Evergreen and be interested in being part of this group. That's really all there is. It's not an elite group. It's just a group that works, that believes very strongly in supporting the cause of cataloging and Evergreen and continuing to have these kinds of conversations on a regular basis so that we maintain our momentum and strengthen our community. So that's my very short pitch for anybody that would like to join us. We are becoming a smaller group because people are retiring. So please join us. Carol.
Okay, fine.
Carol. Hey, Carol. Yay, Carol. Woo-hoo. Please join us. Look at this. I am doing it all in red. I'll fix that.
I prefer purple, but
Oh, me too.
red
Let
is
me
fine.
fix that. No, there's way too much red on this already. I prefer purple too. So now you're definitely in. Okay, so I'm going to make my notes over here too, but I need to send you the invitation.
Okay.
It is, and if you can't make this one, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and have this one anyway. But it's Tuesday, the August 29th at 9:30.
Eastern.
Eastern, yes.
Okay.
Right now, I think all of us are Eastern. We used to be spread out a little more, so that's another note we need to fix.
Okay. I'll just need to make a note to come in early that day.
9:30 a.m. Eastern. So I'll put that there for anybody that might be interested too. But thank you, Carol. I'll send you an official invitation.
Because I typically start at 10, so I'll have to come in early.
Ah, yes, you do. It's a good way to start the day. We're a friendly bunch.
It is.
Right?
And it's not Monday early.
That's no, we wouldn't do that. No, because no, I'm simply just not available Mondays at that time. Oh, Janet's here. I'm going to stop recording so we can say hello to Janet. Alrighty, thank you all. I'll send the notes out. I'm going to stop recording. Anybody wants to join the group, please let me know. See you in September. And I'm stopping sharing, and I'm going to end this recording as soon as I find the end recording button.